This conference will now be recorded.
All right. Welcome to another fun Thursday, y'all. No Brian today. He's out getting his nails done.
He's actually getting, that new trend that's got little eyeballs on the toenails, the acrylics. That's what Brian's actually getting done.
I've not seen that.
He actually admitted it to Chris and I before we started the meeting.
Get the fifth.
He just didn't want it to be public.
I'm gonna go get sick now.
Wait till Brian hears that one when this part of the whole thing will get edited out.
We'll have to mention it randomly throughout the whole webinar.
Yeah.
Minimum of 9 times, Brian. 9 times.
Oh, poor Brian. Because that's what he gets for leaving it to the children.
Right. Hey, we got Grant here. Grant's here, so yeah.
2 days without adult supervision? This is wrong.
Children are definitely here if Grant's here.
Here we go.
There's Grant.
There he is.
Yeah, so let's see here. Kind of an agenda, but not a whole lot of an agenda. Gotta say, if there's anybody that's new here that wants to get a question in, feel free to speak up. Make your voice heard, because this is for you guys just as much as it is for everybody else.
Yeah, there's some new names in here. Sean.
Yeah, I'd remember that last name.
And there's one that says loading. I don't know who that is.
See,
that or maybe text. Grant can cover your guys' huge meeting.
Yeah, it was a good meeting.
Yeah, did y'all see those pictures and videos and stuff?
What pictures and videos?
Instagram. I don't know if you have Instagram. I was putting it on Instagram.
Oh, no, I never looked there.
Now, the only thing I saw is you've got a fair amount in stock.
Yep. I like it.
Because, I was about to send you a message asking for the price of one of them and decided I researched it myself and we'll hold off or find something else, nothing personal.
Well, sell that boss and I'll sell you a Thunder.
Don't freaking tempt me. We just lost the chiller. We had bought a 3,000 chiller not a year or two ago, and the whole fan assembly came apart from the radiator. So I just had to order a 5,000 for it.
I got a boss.
Did you get it on Amazon?
Yeah.
I got a boss for you, Grant.
Yeah, you can throw that away.
No, it was the what was that? The Aurora 8, the 50-watt fiber.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless you've got a great discount for previous purchases.
Thunder family.
You're gonna need to buy a few more. Everybody asks for a discount.
So what is it? Is your Instagram Thunder USA?
Yeah, Thunder Laser USA.
Yeah,
hey Tommy, what he said there was that we just need to get together and make a group purchase so we can get a discount.
Yeah.
That's what I heard.
There's a guy who I don't remember his name. He has like 10 boss machines and he wants to sell all of those and buy 10 Thunders. And even then, it was hard to work up a discount.
Oh, dude, we're not sweating it. And oh, by the way, Grant, I know there's not many of us here in this glorious state of Kentucky, but if you've got somebody that wants a demo, you're welcome to get in touch with us.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's hard to find people. I'm having trouble in California. There's not many people in California that are open to it.
That's Sam. We're speaking of Sam. Where's Sam? Sam? Oh, Sam's loading. Maybe that's him.
No, Jeremy's loading.
We're outside of Louisville, Grant.
Okay.
So if you've got somebody, we've got this monster sitting here.
Which one do y'all have?
51130. And if I do get rid of the boss, it'll be for a 3580 or 35100.
Ooh,
I got the 80 watt in stock right now.
I know you do. I saw.
Get the 80.
And it doesn't have the extra appendage on the side.
Hey, Grant.
Oh God, no.
So,
Grant, I got that 35-100 he may be interested in.
oh, yep. Yep.
Tommy, how far are you from Knoxville? I think it's about a 6-hour drive.
Knoxville.
East
Give me a second.
What are we? We're like 2.5 from. Oh, the hell's that big city there that I hate? Nashville, that I hate driving through.
3 hours and 50 minutes.
3 hours and 52 minutes from Knoxville.
That's not far
That's
at all.
not bad. Chris, what was the first machine that you bought?
A 3580. Had I known better, a 51 probably would have fit, but space is premium.
Not anymore.
Yeah, it is. It still is. Wife hasn't parked in the garage in 2 years.
Well, I'm talking about that storage unit.
Oh yeah, we do have that.
Hey, Chris, I don't want to hear it. Wife's never parked in our garage.
No,
when we first moved in 7 years ago.
I did, but it barely fit.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a 4-car garage and there's never been a car in it.
Hey, that sounds perfect, to be honest.
And it's even a drive-through garage.
Oh, even better.
Oh wow.
There's never been a car in it.
You park
I
a
had
boat
to,
in
I
there?
had to buy her a building to fit the 51 in.
Her main thing is she just wanted auto start and heated seats in the car, so we got her that. Compromise.
Yeah, it's what the wife had. So I got her heated seat here, the heated steering wheel,
Not that fancy.
climate controlled. She can change the temperature of the car from the phone. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Nice.
You do that for in here
I
with the
did
mini
that for my
split.
Chris, on that parameter comparison thing, maybe we could just reach out to certain people to start cutting these things, because I know that's not probably like 100% accurate, but it's fairly close. The way that I read it is if there's a number there, it can cut it. You know what I'm saying? With one pass.
Yeah.
I don't really pay attention too much to what the number is. Just a number means it can cut it with one pass.
Understood.
So
Yeah, if y'all need somebody to test something, just give us a holler.
Yeah, so we've got the parameter cutting speed chart. I don't know if y'all have seen that.
I saw it the other day, and in reality, without opening it up and putting on my thinking cap, I saw a nice little curve picture and went, yep, okay, they're working on that.
Well, I don't remember where these numbers came from. They're close, but they're not 100%. So maybe one day we start buying some of these materials and sending them to people who've got each one of the wattages to just get it 100% accurate.
Idea.
Because I have a 100 watt here and an 80 watt here that I could test on. For now, at least.
Well, between Danny Stell and Jared Davis, we live 10 minutes from each other and both have a Nova 51 130 and hang out together. So we can always have two different machines running parameters and being able to see if there's any difference between them.
Right on. See if I can pull it up.
how did your guys' big conference go?
It went well. I had to get in front of the camera and talk a little bit, which is the first time I've ever been in front of a camera, and it was unscripted, but I had to think through what I was saying, so I was kind of struggling for a minute, but it turned out good.
Good.
It was like video commercial shooting, I guess you could call it.
Well, see, this is the next time you guys have one of these live things. You guys need to shoot it live. You need to live stream your guys' meetings.
Well, then the competitors can see it. I want it to be
one of those meetings.
not suspected, and then boom. Shoot,
so who all was there, Grant? It was you, both Chris's, Alicia, and Brian?
Brian, Clay, all the
Clay.
guys that were filming, Aubrey and Rhonda came out too. But they live over here, right down the road.
I hit the one at the boss.
We got some lake time on Saturday too. That was fun. That was the first time I met Chris Myers, well, Lacasio too, and Brian. I never met him in person. Been working here 2
I
years.
saw Lacasio kneeboarding or something, huh?
Yep.
Yeah.
We were wakeboarding and wake surfing.
How did you see all this? I didn't see none of this.
You got Facebook, man.
I didn't even see it on Facebook.
You have to spend time on
Yeah,
there. That's
yeah, you may not be in the super top secret groups though.
Chris, I was a tomato, man. It was bad. When I woke up the next day, I'm still burnt.
Oh, Brian was telling us he's got blisters on his knees. I'm not even done.
Hold on now. I don't know about that. He was trying to get a discount too, huh?
Ooh, it's being recorded.
Whoa.
Sorry.
This is not
Oh, it was a
going.
fun meeting.
Why did you hit record? Waste of time.
All right, Chris, what are we talking about today?
Well, I did send Johnny an article. Didn't know if you want to pull that up.
Oh. Share screen.
So basically, it's one that popped up. Customer was asking about it. We've kind of hit on this before. I just went in a little more depth. People always ask about it, and then I'm sure it'll get brought up by some other laser manufacturers. But it's basically, again, around extend space, because a lot of times we see people with issues popping up on Facebook. Oh, I run this job all the time. Now it's not running. The machine's doing nothing at the start button. 9 times out of 10, there's an alarm. Probably 99 out of 100, there's an alarm on the screen telling you something's wrong with the setup. And this is around extend space. So knowing how far to put you, I can't really see that too well, but how far to put your material away from the edge, or where your artwork is essentially where it matters. Because if your artwork isn't, going to the extent of your material, then it's okay. But basically, there's a chart, then a little bit of a graph, kind of showing.
Does that work when I do that?
No.
Yeah, I'm just seeing Inception here.
That doesn't work. Why is
Yeah,
this
I see it, but it's kind of small. It may just be because we're still seeing the rest of the screen.
Yeah, and I'm trying to figure out how to do that.
There
I'm
you go.
sharing my screen.
There's a detached camera buttons. You go back to that other one.
Share screen. And window. And share. Share.
So you're trying to share just the window, but it's.
Yeah, I'm trying to share screen and window.
Same internet because you don't have it as a separate actual browser. It's a tab in the same window.
Oh, so that's not the reason.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of there. You just had to scroll down.
Yeah.
Now, let's see if I can do this.
Or send it to me and I'll do it.
New window. Oh, I'll just here. Sorry. Copy link address. Come on.
Don't hurt yourself trying to figure this out.
I don't know why it's not.
The Grant.
What's up?
You gonna need those soon? What we talked about?
I had somebody asking about it, but we'll see if they end up buying one. I mean, we got the The one that we make ready.
Yep.
So just take your time. Don't rush it.
Well, it's all ready. I just got to get my shop back in order. We're putting floors in right now, so everything's packed up and kind of a mess right now.
You sent me the link to the meeting, Johnny.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
That's not what I clicked on. Copy.
Look at what you sent.
Jesus.
OQ.com.
He'll wear himself out just trying to figure out a
There.
There we go.
I don't know why I copied that for.
I don't know. I thought it was funny though. There you go, guys. Is that big enough for everybody to see?
Hell, I saw it fine the first time.
Oh, thanks a lot.
Yeah, just scroll down a hair if you don't mind.
You bet.
All right, so basically what you really just need to observe is this little chart right here. So on the x-axis is your speed of your engrave. The y-axis is the distance going up to like 2.15 to 2.2 inches. So at 1,000, you're at 2.2, but at 500, you're below 1 inch or below, let me see here. Yeah, half an inch. So just by having the speed, you went down a quarter of the distance. So just keep that in mind, as you're setting up engrave files and stuff, that, if you need more working room, because your artwork is extending the full length of your bed, you can go slower and reduce power, and to be able to achieve that engraving in that area.
Nice.
Now, Chris, is that a total? Is that the total distance, or is that left or right distance? That 1 inch.
It's extend space that you need on the left and the right. So you need
at
1,000.
1 inch.
So if you had a 24-inch bed, and if you're doing 1,000 millimeters per second, you essentially have a 20-inch bed.
Okay.
Yeah, and then there's some values that basically I took the Excel generated line, which it has a pretty good fit, but it's not exact, and kind of extrapolated out between different speeds. Now there are going to be some other restrictive parameters inside the controller and stuff to where you may not see down at 100 millimeters per second that small of a extend space, just because of the bidirectional scanning and stuff like that. But you can just get the general idea. From 2.17 down to a tenth of the speed goes to much slower or much shorter extend space. So I've had the times before where you're doing multiple passes on a job or something, and you get the message, oh, this won't work, and you want to use up that last bit of material because you're nesting as much as you can. You just figure out how to slow down, and that will alleviate a lot of that.
That's a great chart. I really like that.
Yep. The other thing to think about, a lot of people will get into the back and forth between, do you do the full every object at once, fill all shapes at once, or do you go down to the individual shape? So again, as you slow down, that fill each individual shape becomes more worthy of use the slower you go, because your extend space is smaller, as it makes sense. But if you're having to clear across the full bed, then you kind of want to get back up into speed. It would be nice if it had the capabilities of engraving one spot, accelerating quickly to the next on the same line layer, and then resuming the slower speed. But I have not seen it do that.
Chris, you mean to post that so
There is
everybody
a
can
setting
have
for
the
that.
link?
In Lightburn, there's a setting for that, but ours don't do it, right?
Yeah, they do that on the G-code machines where you
Is that what it
transition
is?
across the blank space where it'll engrave, accelerate, but that's because traditionally those machines are a lot slower. So,
yeah.
On the diode machines. So.
Yep.
And we do have a speed between, like if you're doing cuts or scores, when it traverses from one of those to the next. But I've not seen it on an engrave layer where if it's the same pixel line where you're engraving on the far right and far left, it doesn't change speeds to get, across to the other side.
But it would be nice sometimes.
Yeah, because then you could maintain your, your consistent quality and, other stuff and extend space requirements, but still get across as fast as you can at 1,000. Because heck, if you can go 1,000, you might as well scooch on over.
Chris, do you want me to share that with everybody? That link?
Yeah, you can. So that's on our support page. We're adding articles as we go, right? We just keep, as things pop up, customer asks questions, we like to expand on and throw this kind of stuff up there.
How's the air compressor or the external air going? Because I still see that damn near daily.
You trying to see if there's okay. Converting that to an article.
I sent y'all a whole write-up and photos and all that. I didn't know if y'all were working on that or not.
Yeah, I remember you sent that. I have not converted that to an article yet. It wouldn't take long though, but I just got to put it on my list. I keep a little this in a digital spreadsheet. Basically, as things pop up, I just write them down. So yeah, I'll pencil that in. The next one I'm going to do is
I don't care. I got a working air compressor and.
Hey, the other thing.
The rest of us do. The rest of us do care. So let them write it down. Dang it.
Hey, Chris, something else that might be worthwhile is rather than putting all the burden on yourself and Brian to write the articles, is create like a user form for users or to write articles, right? To where let some of the rest of the community, add some of that stuff there, and then you guys can just filter on whether you post them or not.
Yeah. So if you guys have that content, all you got to do is send it in as a support ticket, and then we can work on converting it.
Awesome.
If you got that data, and if you just find like an article link or something, interesting information, you can just send it in as a ticket, and that way it'll just stay in the system, and we can add it to the knowledge base. So, because Facebook is great, but nobody really wants to search a whole lot on Facebook.
Well, and searching in Facebook is hit or miss, right?
Yeah.
You get shown what they want you to see even when you're searching for it.
Even on technical stuff.
Yep.
But yeah, the next thing I had kind of written down was a lot of people with Z-axis motion, right? So they get caught looking, even maybe they didn't intend to have it enabled, but it is enabled, and the Z starts moving on them, and it probably freaks them out. And then we get a lot of messages about their Z-axis won't raise very high, or why does my Z-axis say it's at 3,000 millimeters when I power up? So trying to clarify some of that information. Yeah. Who here uses Z-axis motion? Like, do you use it to set your focus as you go, like between engraves and cuts?
I've played with it a little bit.
Right, I don't trust myself.
Yeah. Is that setting in Lightburn or actually on the control panel?
It's in Lightburn. So under your device settings, you can enable Z moves, and then you better make them relative moves, because absolute moves are a real quick way to crash ahead. But you can use that to basically do your engrave and then step down for your manual focusing into the cut layer, and without having to stop, change nozzle heads and then drop it down or whatever. It does it for you automatically. So it's handy. You just got to know.
I'm glad you brought that up because I've been wanting to try it.
Yeah. I'm gonna say we may think about it once Lightburn gets that bug out to where it doesn't constantly flip from millimeters to inches.
Yeah, that would be a bad day, right?
I don't think that's one of them that switches though, guys. That's not one. That's in millimeters only.
Yeah, ours will.
No, you can definitely.
Really?
You can change the Z-axis between millimeters and inches.
Can you really? Wow.
Yeah.
That would be horrible.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be a bad day, right? You put in 3 millimeters and all of a sudden here comes 3 inches.
Yeah.
But Chris, on that Z-axis move, I've been wanting to try that because, like on Robert Cofield's video, where he started getting a lot darker engravings at 9 millimeters, and so I've really been practicing that, going up to 9 on the engrave and down to 6 on focus for cuts. That's made a great difference.
Yeah, and you could even take it further than 6. I'll go down to probably about 2 millimeters. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah,
I was curious if that worked on our machines.
Yep. Yeah, the thing you
Where's that setting?
So don't go out and just start enabling this. Do a little research, but it's under your device settings, because here's what happens. You enable it, Lightburn creates, based off of what you input, then you send it out to the machine. As far as I can tell, it's not a machine level setting, meaning if you had a file in there that you came back a month from now and you forgot you had Z moves in there and you didn't focus right, it's still there, even though your device setting has it turned off. It's really just a light burn, whether or not it's going to control the Z axis. So it'll live in that RD file that lives on your machine, 3 months from now. Ask me how I know. Experienced that one.
Yeah, the other thing, when I've turned it on, the first thing that I noticed was, because I don't think I turned on relative or something, right? It immediately, when I told it I'm using 1/4 inch Baltic birch as, my setting, it moved it down like a 1/4 inch automatically. And so then my cut didn't cut because it was way off.
Yeah, it's like a butter knife turned sideways trying to go through your material.
Yeah, go figure.
I got some questions or messages in the thing. It's like,
I put that site in there. If you haven't seen that, importyeti.com. I just found that one today. But you can put in any company you want, and it will bring back all of its suppliers that it can find. So you can then go and contact those suppliers directly if you wanted to.
Oh, cool. Cool.
A lot of people look up all the JDS cups and stuff and go.
Exactly.
Nice.
Speaking of that,
I did look up JDS Industries. It has over 1,000 pages of suppliers. So keep that in mind. Yeah.
Chris and I were talking about possibly like buying a few different brands of cups and sizes and making the steps per rotation, like making an article with a bunch of different steps per rotation for each of the most used cups.
That's cool, yeah.
Figured that would be kind of helpful.
Yeah.
Especially for people that are just starting out. Of course, it may fluctuate a little bit, but give somebody a place to start.
Yeah, it would be a much closer place to start than just saying, start at 4,400.
Right.
Mine was nowhere near 4,400.
So some people might get this, but 4,400 is a lot closer than 360.
Dude, one time Lightburn reset it to 360 and it took me like an hour to figure out what the hell was going on. Yep. I was like, what in the world?
Yeah, we just had one of those this past week where they were running fine and they're like, I ran the next cup and it just crunched it up. It's like, well, send a picture of your device settings. And sure enough, 360 was there. Like, yep, that'll do it.
It's a specific update in Lightburn that does it. It's one of the past ones, but yeah, it's messed me up good.
Yep. George, you'd asked if you can program the Z-axis. I think, did we answer that for you? All right, he says yes. So, and then people probably picked up on the 3,000. So whenever you start the machine up, you're going to get the Z-axis at 3,000 millimeters. That's just a set point because the Z-axis will not home with the configuration we have loaded. Because you wouldn't want it to, right? Because you might have material, you might have a Rotoboss on there, and homing the Z-axis would be bad news bears. So if you don't enable,
for Jason,
yeah, maybe. But
Jason and the maker of honeycomb beds.
Yeah,
I heard my name.
Bearings and all that.
Here
good stuff.
heard Rotoboss and he came running. He was like, "Oh, we're talking about me."
We're talking about enabling the auto home on Z. That way, when someone leaves their Rotoboss sitting there, it'll automatically crash it, and then they have to buy a new one.
Yeah.
Well, in theory, that should never happen because they usually home at the same time,
That's
so it
cool,
should go across and not make contact, but there's always a possibility for sure.
Yeah, we're talking about the Z-axis. If it did the Z-axis, not the XY.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's optional, right? But so if you do Z control, it asks
if you
if you want to do.
home,
Yeah.
If you enable Z's auto home, that might be a problem.
Yep.
That's cool.
But the absolute is saying you're going to go to a position, right? So if you knew, exactly where things were, you could just set preset heights, physical measurable heights from your gantry. So that's where absolute coordinates comes in. The relative is assume 0, and I'm going to move down, or up, whatever you tell it to do, those fractions of an inch or a couple millimeters. So you always want relative. Optimize, I really hadn't seen a whole lot of use for that. Sometimes I run it, sometimes I don't. It still does a lot of up-down movement. The other tricky thing is it'll hit the autofocus sensor every now and then. Like it'll break that beam and you'll get a hard limit protect. So that can be kind of a nuisance or a one of those alarms for the axis being too high. So there's a workaround for that too. But yeah. So we got some other new people that showed up. Chantel, any questions that you want to bring up? And maybe Kevin, I don't know if I've met Kevin.
I was about to say, you're just going to call out Chantel like that, damn.
Man.
Well, I mean, she may want an opportunity to discuss something.
Well, I called out Sean earlier, so.
Yeah.
Oh, you know.
We can always use more female input in this webinar.
Well, how do you know Kevin's a female? Hold on.
Yeah, John jumps to conclusion Chantel might not be a female. There's no
Good
picture.
point.
Chantel still's not gonna say to that. I figured I should pipe in something.
Yeah. We got one that's loading.
I was hoping Jason would chime in when I started talking about the steps thing, because maybe he could get some of those on his own. Hint, hint.
Yeah, that'd be nice. So, you know, and the trouble with that is, and I got a customer that brings me all these random cups off Amazon and from around the area because she wants a particular color for whatever school, you know, that she's making cups for. Like one of them was Bon Bon. I've never even seen that one, but she pulled it off Amazon somewhere. It's hard to get steps for that one, but if it's JDS, Yetis, Ozark Trail, what's the other one? Arctic, you know, that kind of stuff.
Even like the Yeti dog bowls, that'd be a good one because those are hard.
Yeah, and those should be close to stock settings since they're a cylinder, but they're big.
Yep.
Maybe I just need to make a YouTube video on how to, because it's not so much the steps, it's just the setup.
Yep. George has a question in the chat. It says, anyone have experience with Acme Plastics cast acrylic? Notice that many suppliers out of stock of 24 by 48.
I don't know if I bought from Acme before. Hold on. Bought from
Have you,
a lot of
tried
different plastics.
Cerulean Tides, George? I'll put chat. It's a hard
Cerulean
one to
Tides.
say.
Yeah, E Street Plastics is another one. Interstate Plastics.
Piedmont seems to be a pretty big one down in the south. I know people buy from them.
Yeah, that's who I was typing in.
Yep.
I know Danny uses them as well.
We got Farco plastic down here that I use. And there's Piedmont too, but Piedmont's really expensive.
If I had the money, I could buy 3 semi-trailers full of acrylic, colored, cast, and everything.
There's a place. There's a place
what
down.
kind of money do you need? Hold on.
There's a place down in Kissimmee. I don't remember the name off my top of my head, but they ship nationwide for one price. They don't. So it's like a fixed rate, no matter where it is. That's how much it costs.
Yeah, that's something right now, especially with the bigger ones, is the shipping rates are ridiculous right now due to fuel prices and logistics. Yep.
You're getting 4x8s, so yeah, you're gonna pay some good money for those because those got to go on a flatbed or something like that.
Yeah.
Take up a lot of room. Take up a lot of room in a semi or.
The only other thing I saw with the 4x so was if you want to get it cut down, it was like $150 through Piedmont. So I guess if you can handle it versus paying them to cut it and dealing with whatever they do to it.
That's what I was looking for, the 24 by 38. It fits right inside the laser bed.
Farco down here, which is right here local to me, they'll cut it right there for you. If you get a 4x8, just tell them you want to half all your sheets, they'll half them, and I think it's like $10.
Oh, that ain't bad.
So no matter how many you cut, it's like 10 or $20 or something like that. I can't remember, but you know, the one sheet or 50 sheets.
Have any of you done any acrylic recycling with heated platens?
No.
There's a YouTube video where a lady takes and she goes to all these companies that cut acrylic and are throwing all of them away, and she goes and takes all that scrap, and instead of sending it to the landfill, she has it's basically a heated press, and she'll put it in there and press it and heat it, and it makes a tie-dye. I mean, depending on what she's going for, I'll find a link as you guys continue to call and drop it in here so you guys can check it out. I end up buying one and plan on doing that.
That sounds
cool. A lot of these places around, if you're local to them anyways, I think, you can go down and ask for their cutoffs, because, I mean, they're getting the same amount of money whether someone wants a foot cut off or 2 foot cut off. Like, I got a bunch of scrap, probably like 2 foot, about between 1 and 2 feet by 48 inches. And you just go down there and say, hey, can I have your cutoffs? And they say, yeah, go grab what you need, and walk out the door with it. Most of them don't care because they've already made their money off of it.
Yep.
But so that's a good source if you have some place local to you that you can do that with.
Yep.
And there goes the awkward silence.
All right, next topic on the list, Chris.
I gave it my 1. That was it. 1.5.
The biggest thing I've seen lately, not just in the Thunder forum but other forums, is people getting acrylics and not realizing the acrylic covers probably 5 or 6 different types. And a lot of people have been getting the polycarbonate instead of the cast acrylic or extruded or something like that, or the
PET.
No, because you can cut that stuff. It's like it's a 4-letter acronym. I don't remember what it's called. But I saw some at Lowe's the other day, and I got some just to try out. Yeah, it didn't work very well. But
polycarbonate, a lot of times, Lexan is a brand of polycarbonate, right? Just like with acrylic and plexiglass, right? You have trade names that are associated, but a lot of people do cross them up.
Yeah, people just got to be careful. Typically, if you buy it from Lowe's or Home Depot, you're running probably 80% chance you're going to get the wrong stuff.
Yeah, probably going to be polycarbonate.
Yep. But the biggest one is typically the cast is going to have a paper film on it. Mostly, there are some casts that have plastic, but typically what I've seen, and maybe it varies by location or area, but the extruded typically has the plastic film on it versus the paper. The paper in my area, anything paper is cast.
That's what I've seen.
Anything plastic is extruded or polycarbonate that's labeled as acrylic because it is. But a lot of people make that mistake, and unfortunately there's not really a way to prevent that, because they have several brands at Home Depots and Lowe's and things like that. But
right, and the brands don't always give you the exact specifics of the chemistry of what it's made of, because they're not required to.
Well, we have it at Lowe's here. I seen polycarbonate, and by looking at it, it says acrylic plastered all over it. Right. But in fine print in one of the little boxes where it has like some cautionary notes or whatever, or somewhere on it, in small writing it says polycarbonate. So, you think you're getting a cast acrylic because it has acrylic plastered all over it, but you're actually getting the polycarbonate.
Yeah, actually, I had a sheet of it around here somewhere. I was just looking to see if it had that sticker, but I can't find it now.
No. Lexan, you're probably a 50-50 shot on that one. You have to kind of really read into it and find. If it doesn't say cast or extruded, I wouldn't even recommend getting it, because you're taking a gamble.
Yeah, even some of that polycarbonate you can't cut if it doesn't have certain chemistry in it that produces the chlorine gases, but because not all polycarbonate does, but it will cut and give off a yellow gas regardless. It's nasty and makes a messier machine, so it's just not worth it.
Well, the bad thing about it is it's like super glue. The vapor from super glue, once it gets on something after you cut it, it ain't coming up, and if it is, you're gonna be scrubbing for a while. But And that's a dead giveaway. If you cut it and it's not a white smoke, stop cutting it.
Right.
If it's anything but white, stop cutting it. Because if it's yellow or like a brownish yellow, and it leaves a black residue on the edges of the cut, then you're dealing with polycarbonate, and that's.
Yep. The other thing
good.
is polycarbonate is normally more flexible than acrylic. Acrylic is stiffer, right? Based on how they're made. Another thing is polycarbonate will scratch a lot easier than acrylic, right? So you can look at it at Lowe's. If it's really scratched up, good chance it's polycarbonate, right? But that being said, right, just like their lumber, right, they don't handle it the best, so their acrylic can be all scratched up as well.
Yep. The thinner acrylic will flex, but to your point, you can almost double polycarbonate over on itself before it does anything.
Yeah.
Whereas acrylic, you might get halfway folded and it'll snap.
Yeah, another thing, acrylic is cheaper than polycarbonate as well. So if it's
I never really paid attention to that, but yeah, it might be a good point.
Don't worry, I'm reading a pros and cons comparison over here, so I'm not that educated, but I did pull up an article from Acme Plastics where it talks about how to differentiate and some of the pros and cons for selecting your plastics. And I can link that if you'd like.
It depends on what you're doing, George. It just depends on what you want to do. I mean, you could do either. You can cut and engrave on both. If you're doing the really thin stuff, engraving might be a little bit more difficult just because you run the risk of blowing right through it. But 1/8, you could do 1/4 inch. I mean, whatever you want. I don't know what size machine or what power machine you have, but you can probably cut, I would guess, up to oh yeah, you can cut like 1/2 inch with that.
Easy, yeah.
Yeah, no problem. It's cut like butter.
So with all that discussion, guys, one of the main things, if you're going out buying a new material, try to check with the MSDS or something that's in the name of it. Also be cautious that sometimes you'll go online, you'll get conflicting answers of things that are laserable, but not necessarily laser safe from a off-gassing standpoint. There's a lot of materials that will laser cut just fine, but they have negative effects, right? Like even MDF and acrylic kind of stink, right? You want to evacuate those smells. They'll probably give people headaches. But there's plenty of things out there, fiberboards and stuff like that are laser safe and laserable. But there's other things that are laserable that you really don't want to be cutting on your machine.
Yeah, another thing that I've seen too is a lot of people get the 1/4 inch or eighth inch Luan instead of actual plywood, and they end up catching fire or wondering why their stuff isn't coming out with a nice clean edge. It's all burnt and charred. Usually, if you go to an actual lumber yard, they're going to have a solid core plywood that thin. Lowe's and Home Depot, sometimes they carry it, at least here. Sometimes they'll have it. Most of the time, it's like a Luan almost, where it's like a basswood or basswood or a poly or what's the other one? Balsa core with the outer laminates. And as soon as you cut into that balsa core, it's just going to torch it.
Another thing you'll see is the underlayment stuff in the 1/8 inch, right? It's made for flooring underlayment, right? Which very similar. Right? I've seen people try to use that. It's not plywood, right? It's not 1/8 inch like Baltic birch, right? It's underlayment plywood.
That's that Luan stuff, and you can tell Luan because it's going to have a dark, heavy grain texture on one side and a finished texture on another. And then plus, when you stick your fingernail in it, if your fingernail just sinks right into it, then you know it's got a bad core and you don't want that stuff. And you can also tell usually they're cross grain, so the inner grain is opposite the other grain. And if you can't see like kind of the grain pattern of the wood, that's another dead giveaway. If it looks like the edge of MDF almost, where it's kind of bubbly or airy looking, then that's kind of another indicator
like
that
a sponge, right?
Yeah, like a sponge,
Yeah.
kind of airy, open ends. It's not like a solid
Right.
where you can see chunks of
seen that.
wood or grain or something like that in it.
Yeah. Hey, George has a question. Anybody ever tried cutting or engraving corian, like I guess the countertops, right, George? Yeah. I have not. Has anyone else? Is it safe? I don't even know.
What's Corian made of? Do you know?
It's some sort of
Corian.
epoxy plastic. I don't know. It's a manufactured material, but
It's supposed to be pretty good on the laser. It's really heat resistant too. Like they make cookware out of it, countertops.
Right.
That's kind of like Starboard.
Well, Starboard's like an HDPE.
Starboard will cut, and it doesn't off gas too bad as far as like the smell and odor. But the only problem with that is it melts it more than it cuts it, and it basically just fuses itself back together.
So corian is 1/3 acrylic resin and 2/3 natural minerals.
Okay.
Huh.
So they're getting all the color and variation in the minerals, and the acrylic resin is probably just the binder agent.
The binder, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's thin enough, if it's thin enough, it might work. I mean, I don't know that you want to cut anything over probably 1/8 inch. I mean, it might do it. I don't know.
You can go down to the hardware store and probably just pick up some of those samples of corian and just give it a shot. I mean, because it's acrylic resin mostly, and minerals are fine. It's like cutting or engraving on stone, I would imagine. I don't know if it'll cut all the way through it, depending on the load of minerals, but
yeah,
each piece might be different.
If it puts off a real pungent odor or something other than like a whitish smoke, I'd probably just stay away from it. Because if it has any kind of color to the smoke, it's probably a chemical that you don't want to be breathing. Not that you really want to be breathing acrylic smoke either, but
Yeah, so corian's laser safe, right? I mean, people do it. They cut it. You can get depth out of it, but it doesn't necessarily give you contrast. They have samples. You can probably go get it like Home Depot in their little kitchen counter aisle, like $3. So,
yeah, they have their like coaster size too, so you can just take those and make them right into coasters.
My thought was to try and make hot plates out of them.
Yeah, there you go.
And they're great for heat, right? You can get those cutting boards and the corian. You can put a hot right on top of where your granite countertops that you pay so dang much for and that are needing to be sealed. You cannot.
Yes.
The other nice thing about corian is it matches a lot of the natural stones like marble or granite. You can get it pretty close in color.
Yeah.
Well, cultured marble smells great when you engrave it. So.
Does it?
Oh, that looks like it's got a bunch of epoxy or something in it.
That sounded kind of sarcastic to me.
Cultured marble. Is that like
George?
It smells horrible.
Well, that's a wait. I'm gonna say I'll tell him when he gets back. His best bet is to make a template, and use a damn router table to cut out that corian.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But the corian's thin enough, Tommy. You could still do it, I'm sure. I mean, you had 1/8 inch corian, it would probably work great.
That corian, that's like the new in kind of product right now, ain't it? As far as like countertops and stuff, I think.
That or the filtered marble.
Yeah, Jason, that's old. Corian has been used for freaking decades, and
oh, nice.
Yeah, it's coming back in, right? It's
Is that the corian, George?
Marble.
That's marble.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, marble gives a good grayish white contrast.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Oh, it's a lazy Susan. Very cool. Yeah.
George, are you trying to cut
you have that milled
corian, or are you trying to engrave it?
I definitely want to engrave corian, and then I was going to backfill it with food grade black epoxy and then seal it.
Yeah.
But a corian's pretty porous, though, ain't it?
No.
Well,
corian's not porous at all. Completely solid.
Resin, so, yeah.
But once you break that surface tension with the laser, wouldn't that
It's
No?
not a seal on there. No, it's solid resin through and through. So
Oh,
there is no
okay.
seal on there. It's not like cultured granite, or not cultured granite, but the granite you have to seal. Or like cultured marble, you don't. Corian, you don't have to seal.
Plus,
George,
like,
be careful of your resins, depending on what two-part resin you're going to use or the epoxy to backfill. Look at what the temperature ratings are on them. If you use the wrong one, a hot plate just may screw everything up. And then my suggestion is like coloring it with mica powder. You can get some pretty cool effects with the mica powder.
Yeah.
If you take like a little toothpick or something and swirl it around, if you just leave it, all the mica powder will settle to the bottom. And then it gives you one look. But if you take a toothpick and swirl it around inside the grooves, you can get some really neat and funky looking effects with it.
Yep.
Very cool.
Who's got a topic? Keep it rolling. We were doing so good. Come on, George. You got tons of questions today.
I'll tell you what, I've been really getting into working with stone.
Have you?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to work
stone
with.
Or like the finished stuff like you had there? I mean, like pebbles or?
So this was the Lazy Susan I made, and I turned it into a wine and cheese pairing board.
That's so
the
cool.
wine's on the outside, the cheeses that it pairs with are on the inside.
Very cool. My
So I've been
daughter
selling
would love
these. Yeah, they're moving pretty good. Then I've been doing a lot with slate.
Yeah, I've done some slate. One thing you can try with slate, George, is you can put like a clear coat over it first and then engrave it. If you haven't tried that, you can get a really good contrast out of it.
Over it first?
Yes.
And then
Seal
engrave
it first.
Yep.
Because I did it post, and this is what it looked like.
Right. And it looks great. Try it first and then engrave it. You'll get a slightly different effect.
Well, the thing you're going to get is once you seal it after it's engraved, it's going to basically blend the finish.
Have the same sheen all the way
It's
across.
going to blend the finish all the way across. Whereas if you do it first, then engrave it, you're going to have a shiny. Then you're going to have the matte or flat finish of the engraving, so it'll give it more kind of pop.
For contrast. Yeah, I did a big memorial out of slate for my son, so I did a ton of testing with slate when my son was kiddo. Yeah.
No, another thing that's cool with slate is you can get so anyone that's got a fiber. So I don't even do slate on my CO2 anymore because fiber you can get different shades, different colors.
Yep.
So you can get like a white, a gray, and like a tan.
Yeah.
So,
Is that any fiber or is that was it
the MOPA. So no, you can do it with a non. So I have a JPT, right? But I have the fixed pulse width, not the variable pulse width. So
okay.
Contrary to what a lot of people say on the internet, every JPT source is a MOPA, right? The LPE, the cheaper JPT sources are fixed pulse width. So they're fixed at 200 nanosecond pulse width. You can't vary the pulse width. But they do, because of the MOPA nature versus the Q-switch power supply, they have a lot bigger frequency range. So they have a 1 to 600 kilohertz frequency range, whereas like a Raycus is like a 20 to 80 kilohertz. And then the variable pulse width MOPA is 1 to 4,000 kilohertz on the JPT M7s. So that's the ones where people do a lot more of the color changing and stuff.
Right.
But
on the metals.
And you can do that because all you're doing is you're playing with the annealing process. So as you heat it and you focus that heat, you're going through the color change cycle of stainless steel and titanium. Problem is, it is very difficult to duplicate consistently because a breeze blows and it cools it and it throws it off. So people will do a little test grid and they're heating a 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch square, got a perfect blue, and try to do that over like a 6-inch design, and they can't heat it consistently because the laser can't heat that much area at once. Where the quarter by quarter, it's more focused, so you can't.
This here is a slate with the Aurora.
Oh, nice.
The Thunder Aurora.
Yeah. Beautiful.
It's not pre or post seed. It's the raw slate.
The color seems a lot better on it though. Like the contrast seems like way more punchy.
Well, the benefit
Spot
to
size is
but the benefit with the fiber over a laser is you're going to get a lot more striations in the design. Whereas this, I mean, it's the texture of the granite or the slate, you can't really even see much. It's just a smooth, even texture clear across it.
Right.
So it's kind of.
Jason, how long did it take you to make that? Like from the time you hit go?
Minute maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I think I ran it 2 or 3 times because I have a 20 watt, so it doesn't engrave quite as deep.
Yeah.
It's still faster.
I think this was 3 passes, and it was less than a minute. I mean, it was probably 15 seconds per pass, maybe a little bit more. Just because I had to go. Just because I had to go slow because it's a lower power tube. If you got a 50, like I have a JPT 50 watt, that I could do this in 2 passes in probably 20 seconds or less.
Yeah, it takes more time to set it out of the way and stick the next one in place.
Yeah, you swap them out in about as much time as it takes to do one. So I mean, and stuff like that, it's really nice. You could do black acrylic with it. Gives a really nice finish. It's like a raised kind of blistery, like a whitish kind of gray color.
Almost. Yeah.
Yep. Gives a real nice texture. Looks really good. Colored acrylic like red. Any colored acrylic you can do with a fiber as well. It just won't do the clear obviously because it has nothing to contrast and the light passes right through it. So.
Okay, Sam, what are you showing off? Because I keep seeing some really cool stuff. What was that first thing you showed that looked like a mustache?
A Chudery board.
That was his mustache.
The first thing is a mustache. And what I did is my wife likes the Green Bay Packers, so I put green and gold on it in resin.
Okay. That looks slick.
My mom makes those things. They're pretty cool. Different shapes and sizes and.
Yeah, and I got no overflow on the sides and stuff. Yeah, it looks real nice. I like it.
Yeah, very nice.
And then the second one is a coaster that we did.
Is it slate?
Yeah, slate coaster.
You did a pre-seal on it?
No, a post.
Oh, that still looks really good.
Yeah, that shiny stuff.
It's still got good contrast though.
Million little things she's working on now.
Someone's been busy.
Good problem to have.
Well, if money was coming in, busy would be good, but so far we're just trying to figure out the stinking machine still and settings and everything.
Yeah.
Yep. So what's the deal with the mustaches? Is that a new trendy thing or something?
No, I actually made the mustache into a stupid little shop clock at first. I've seen some people take them and they also color them to be like women's hair and stuff. Just different things.
Oh, I didn't know if it was something new trendy thing that I was missing out on.
No, basically it was just me starting to fart around with resin because I had never messed with it before. So this was all me mixing it, and putting the color in there and the gold flake and all that stuff and trying to do the mathematics to figure out not to make a ton of it and have a bunch extra waste.
Yep. No, it looks great though.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
We made it to 5 o'clock almost.
I celebrate! Yay! Wonder if Brian found how many times we mentioned googly eyes on his toes.
Oh, we forgot about the blisters on the knees. We're supposed to mention those numerous times. I'll get it on the new carpet. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording.